Good evening. The tax rate hearing meeting of the Board of Education of the Sedalia School District 200 is called to order at 6:15 on August 25th. The secretary will call the roll of each board member to determine if a quorum is present. Please respond by saying here.
Dr. Barth-Fagan.
Here.
Mr. Gardner.
Here.
Mr. Groupie. Mr. Kempton.
Here.
Mrs. Moon.
Here.
Ms. Nichols.
Here.
Ms. Schrader is here.
I will now ask for a motion to approve the agenda.
So moved.
And a second.
Second.
All in favor say aye. Aye. Anyone from the audience who would like to address the board may do so when the agenda item they want to address is being discussed. Before you approach the podium, you will need to sign in on the sheet provided at the media table. And as you approach the podium, provide your name and indicate the agenda item you want to address. If you have printed correspondence you want to share with the board, please leave those items at the media table with Mr. Satnin, and he will share those items with the board at the conclusion of the meeting. Remarks will be limited to 3 minutes and to one appearance, and questions directed to the board may not always be answered immediately. All questions will be responded to by an appropriate person as soon as possible. Persons who wish to suggest items for the agenda should contact the superintendent. And I believe we're exiting the stage.
Very briefly, yes.
Okay.
This way. All right, in front of you, the hearing notice that was published in the newspaper prior to this hearing. This is what we are required by law to do. I want to point out a few points. This year, this is compared to last year. So on the right column, 2024-25, last school year. On the left column, it's 2025-26, so that's fiscal year 26. As you can see, our overall adjusted assessed valuation rose from $442,957,466 to $460,885,830. You see the new construction was virtually the same from last year to this year. What new construction deals with, that we get to count the first year of new construction. That does not fall under the Hancock Amendment with CPI limitations. As you can go down the columns to the tax rates proposed by fund. And this year it would be unchanged. It has not changed in quite some time as calculated by the State Auditor's Office. And our tax rate for our incidental fund would be $3.3628, and putting .7000 in capital projects for a total tax levy of $4.06.28, $4.0628. You can see that at the bottom column we have total new revenue, operating funds only, of $728,394. New revenue from new construction and improvements is calculated at $224,724. And new revenue from reassessment that took place, this being an odd number year, $503,670. New revenue from reassessment, that would increase us by 2.80%. Do I have any questions? All right, well, back to the stage and we'll have a vote on this.
Everybody is back, so with there being no questions, I will ask for a motion to set the tax rate ceiling for the 2025-2026 year at $4.0628 per $100 of assessed valuation by placing $3.3628 of the levy in the incidental fund and 70 cents in the capital projects fund as presented. So moved. And a second?
Second.
And we need the roll call vote.
Dr. Barth-Fagan?
Aye.
Mr. Gardner? Aye. Mr. Kempton?
Aye.
Mrs. Moon?
Aye.
Ms. Nichols?
Aye.
Ms. Schrader votes aye.
Thank you. And now I need a motion to adjourn to regular session. So moved. And the roll call vote.
Dr. Barth-Fagan?
Aye.
Mr. Gardner? Aye. Mr. Kempton?
Aye.
Mrs. Moon?
Aye.
Ms. Nichols?
Aye.
Ms. Schrader votes aye.
I'm going to go ahead. You can go ahead. Should I wait?
Probably need, by technicality, probably need to wait.
Okay.
We will wait to commence this regular board meeting at 6:30. It is 6:23 right now, so at 6:30 as advertised, we will commence that meeting.
Springfield or, Grandview or whatever. So you don't have to live in that district to be part of their online virtual program.
Okay.
Yeah, that's why I was telling
And they
Kara.
can't, but they can't bill you for that student.
No,
They're billing
because
you for
they
the
get the
student.
ADA
Right,
for it.
okay.
But that's why I told Kara, that's what I was telling Kara, our numbers of kids doing virtual have gone up and they keep going up. But if we tell them no, they'll just withdraw from us and then we don't even collect ADA on it. So Springfield gets their ADA or Grandview gets their ADA,
So
whatever.
why is it, what's the reason for them not wanting to come to school now?
Anything and everything. Bullying.
Good evening.
They think they need to put that.
The meeting of the Board of Education of the Sedalia School District 200 is called to order at 6:30 p.m. The secretary will call the roll of each board member to determine if a quorum is present. Please respond by saying here.
Dr. Barthagen,
Here.
Mr. Gardner, Mr. Groupie, Mr. Kempton,
Here.
Mrs. Moon,
Here.
Ms. Nichols,
Here.
and Ms. Schrader is here.
Thank you. And if you will now rise and say the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Under recognitions and comments, anyone from the audience who would like to address the board may do so when the agenda item they want to address is being discussed. As you approach the podium, you will need to sign in on the sheet provided at the media table. And as you approach the podium, please provide your name. If you have printed correspondence you want to share with the board, please leave those items at the media table with Mr. Satnin, and he will share those items with the board at the conclusion of the meeting. Remarks are to be limited to 3 minutes and 1 appearance. Questions directed to the board may not always be answered immediately. All questions will be responded to by an appropriate person as soon as possible. Persons who wish to suggest items for the agenda should contact the superintendent. Sedalia School District Foundation. I don't see anybody, do you? Okay. Next, NEA.
Good evening. I'm Mrs. Jenke. I got nominated to show up this evening, so please don't mind my inappropriate attire. So I am the treasurer of NEA, and we have a couple of things we would like to just share with you all tonight. We do not currently have a membership number. We haven't got that information back from the national office yet, so hopefully at the next board report we'll be able to provide that. We did have a couple of things to consider with culture and climate survey. Their emailed results were sent to respective buildings in early June. There were a few things that were mentionable. The comments for those responses were not shared on the reports, likely for legal reasons. But we have had some requests for transparency regarding how the district plans to address some, if any, of the issues that may have been mentioned within those comments. We are also helping to working to identify if staff have the same issues and concerns moving forward into the new school year. Since that was taken in early April, we weren't sure if those were still accurate, so we're kind of doing our own feelers on that, on our members specifically. We are also trying to identify concerns from our members to provide possible solutions. We do send out 2 member feedback forms per year, one in the fall, which will go out in September, and one in the spring, which goes out in early March. That helps us to gather information from our members regarding concerns and issues that may be impacting them at their respective buildings. Members are also encouraged to reach out to a rep or an officer if issues arise outside of those timeframes. One other mentionable item is that we do have a couple of t-shirt designs being offered for sale through NEA. They're generic Tigers t-shirts for the district. We do not collect local dues, but instead offer fundraisers. The support from these fundraisers help us financially to assist in marketing, staff appreciation events, and giveaways to our members. Do you have any questions for me and what NEA is currently working on?
I don't. Thank you, though.
Thank you.
And SCEA?
Good evening. My name is Katie Alexander. I serve as the Vice President of SCEA and also the rep for the high school. I also apologize. I was tagged in to do this about an hour ago, so I'm also not dressed appropriately, and I apologize. Earlier this month, SCEA held our new staff luncheon. We catered with El Tapatio and served about 120 people. And we also did our yearly membership drive. We have roughly 300 members signed up to kick off the school year, and we will continue to work on membership throughout the month of September. Staff can contact their building reps if they want more information on how to join. SCA would like to thank Dr. Fraley and Ms. Nichols for their back to school messages and acknowledgement of the challenges education is facing at this current time. It's apparent that our school leadership leads proactively and keeps Sedalia 200 ahead of the game when it comes to statewide initiatives like the SRSN network and competency-based education. Important work is being done across the district. At the high school where I work, I see conversations happening daily. Teachers are leaning in, putting in the work, and it shows in the progress students are making. We know education has become a hotbed topic, but Sedalia 200 is doing some incredible things that are being recognized. And because of that, SCA is excited to partner in another great year ahead. Thank you.
Thank you. I will now ask for a motion to approve the agenda. And a second?
Second.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Do I have a motion to accept consent agenda items 4.1 to 4.10?
So moved.
And a second? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Consent agenda item 4.11, payment of bills with Mr. Kempton abstaining. Do I hear a motion to accept?
So moved.
And a second? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
And 4.12, payment of bills with Mrs. Moon abstaining. Do I hear a motion to accept? So moved. And a second?
Second.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Thank you. And items under decision, unfinished business, the SMS Tiger Tots proposal. Do you know if there was anybody?
I see, I think Sergeant's back there.
Okay. We've discussed this the last couple of months, so if there are any last minute questions or comments that would like to be made before we take the vote tonight.
I would like to make some comments.
Okay.
Okay. So, first of all, I want to make it very clear that I do not dislike this idea. I think it's a great idea. I do disagree with the execution. And the main problem I am struggling with is taking students out of class here at the high school to do that over at the middle school. I don't think setting this precedent's a good idea. If we do this for JROTC, well, let's say the foods class wants to start a cooking activity after school at the middle school. So then we equitably have to allow those students to leave 7th period to go over there to do cooking. If the art students want to do an art project weekly at the elementary schools, equitably, we have to let them go do that too. And pretty soon, we've got a lot of students out of class and disrupting education, quite frankly. And I don't think we can underestimate the importance of student presence in a classroom. I think we've all learned, particularly over the last few years, that class participation and being engaged in a classroom is very important. We, as a district, have put a lot of money into and effort into creating engaging and participatory classrooms for our students. We've spent a lot of money on Kagan so that we learn to work in groups and engage. And so when a student misses a class, they can make up the assignment or they can reschedule their assessment. They cannot recreate a class discussion or an activity that went on in class, and they certainly can't get a video of it later and have it have the same effect. And they're not the only ones, quite frankly, for whom this is a disruption. The other students, in my opinion, in that class miss the benefit of having those students' knowledge and input in there. And quite frankly, as a teacher who has dealt with this, we're just creating, I think, for our high school teachers, more problems in terms of rescheduling, making sure students are given their assignments, making sure students are up with their assignments, making sure that they get their assessments done. And it's just a lot of extra added work for those high school teachers, I think. And so that's, let's say, and also as we're moving more towards the use of proficiency scales and competency-based education, we've had 1 year of kind of working with that, but we're going to go, the way I understand it, full more in this year at the high school level. And so I just think, I think there's a lot of change going on, and this is a program I like, but I would like to see it if we could rearrange the schedule so the students aren't missing class. And that's my 2 cents worth.
Anybody else have a comment or a thought? You guys want to chime in, jump in? If you have anything to add or...
I have a question. How many kids would be missing the 7th hour that she's mentioning?
So there would be 5. If everything goes right, there'll be 5 per day. Every Tuesday and Thursday, but there'll be different kids each day. So they won't be the same kids. Yeah, and then, so right now we're looking for 2 iterations. It'll be Raiders in the fall and then drill in the summer. So it'll be different kids with each team. So it's over a course of 2 months, each iteration.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions or comments? If not, I will ask for a motion to approve the SMS Tiger Tots Leadership Program as presented.
So moved.
And a second.
Second.
All in favor say aye. Aye. All not in favor say nay.
Nay.
And the vote is 6-1, so it is approved. Thank you. Thank you. Next is under decision is the PCE construction final change orders.
Yes. In a Board of Education packet, we had an opportunity to look through the revised AIA contract for our guided secure entry project that started at the course of 24, early in the 24 school year, and went through the 25 school year, which included updated provisions in that AIA for substantial completion. The contract now formally recognizes liquidated damages assessed to the contractor for the delays beyond the substantial completion date. So as part of the process, working through them, Hollis and Miller, we have finalized a resolution for the delay that occurred during the course of the project, where the contractor exceeded the original timeline by 164 days. In accordance with the terms of the contract, this delay resulted in liquidated damages credit of $164,000 back to the district. There were change orders that they were not paid for as we worked with Hollis and Miller and held those payments as an incentive to get things done. This outcome that we've come up with ensures accountability while also returning value to our district. We appreciate the collaborative efforts from all, Hollis and Miller, PCE, and of course our leadership team, as we feel this brings this to a close in a professional manner.
Does anyone have any questions for Mr. Pyle? Yes.
The liquidated damages deduction, has that been agreed to by the contractor?
Yes.
I'll move its approval.
And do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All not in favor say nay. Okay, thank you, that passes. And next is the Missouri Consultants Education, MCE, policy updates. Dr. Fraley.
Yes, as you can see in your board packets, there are a lot of changes in store, and we could be here for 2 days discussing each and every one of them. This is largely in place due to Senate Bill 68 and Senate Bill 63 that created many of these changes, most all of which are mandatory. The reason I placed them for decision, we just received these last week at the final hour. Many of these go into effect for this school year, so I don't believe a discussion is necessary, especially for the ones that are mandatory under statute. The others are very much, like I said, highly recommended. So it's my recommendation to go ahead and make the changes to our policies per MCE's descriptions as you find in your board packet.
Are there any questions for Dr. Fraley on any of these, or?
I don't have any questions. I just want to make a quick comment, probably me overthinking this. There are two policies they're asking us to implement that are mandatory for the 2026-2027 school year. That's policy 5218 and then policy 5215. That is meant to be enacted in accordance with the DESE standards to support that are supposed to be implemented by January 1st of 2026. And I read 5215, the traumatic blood loss protocol, and 5218, the cardiac emergency response plan. I think policy 5218 says it pretty clear that this is beginning in the 2026-2027 school year. I just want to verbalize some intent from the district that any training that the staff members that will receive for the designated buildings and any bleeding control kits placed in the areas aren't going to occur until we have that protocol from DESE as of January 1st, 2026, correct? That's true.
We already have bleeding control kits in the building.
Do we do the annual trainings?
Yes.
And we have designated staff?
We are pretty much way ahead of the game
Okay.
with this.
Well, that
statute.
answers my question.
We've had this in place for a while.
Do these two changes, do these two changes, 5215 and 5218, change anything we're already doing?
Well, it will make some tweaks, certainly, but we did the Stop the Bleed training. Mr. Curry can speak more to this than it's in his wheelhouse.
Yes, we've done those for 2 years now, and we have building level teams in place at each building that receive additional training as well. I think this is nothing new for us, but it will certainly cross the T's and dot the I's and ensure that the training that we do provide does meet the requirements that DESE is putting in place.
Thank you.
And we're fortunate enough to have staff members in place and expertise. You know, there's some smaller districts, et cetera, may struggle with some of this, not having the same resources. Having a director of health and her qualifications, and then a safety director with all her certifications really helps the district.
Mm-hmm. Okay, any other questions, comments, concerns? I will ask for a motion to approve the policies and regulations and custom policy 2656 as presented.
So moved.
In a second.
Second.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All not in favor say nay. Thank you. And items for discussion, Mr. Norton, Hall of Fame.
Tonight, I bring forward 3 recommendations from the Hall of Fame Committee. Recommendation 1 is we would like to seek to merge the Smith-Cotton Alumni Hall of Fame with our current Smith-Cotton Hall of Fame. Rationale, we have several people who have been nominated that are already in the original Hall of Fame, and certain people who have not been nominated to be put in our new Hall of Fame because a lot of the community feels that they're already part of the Hall of Fame. So we would like to bring those members over. Those members currently, their pictures and biographies are on the wall in the auditorium at the junior high. And if you would like to go further, I can get you a list of who those people are that would join our current Hall of Fame. Recommendation 2 is to merge the 3 current Hall of Fames we have into one Hall of Fame. Currently, we have an academic, an activities, and an athletic Hall of Fame. and we would like to move to one Smith Cotton Hall of Fame to recognize everybody in the same Hall of Fame. We have several candidates for inclusion that it's kind of confusing of where they would fall. Are they an athlete? Are they a supporter? Are they in the activities? And we think it would be easier. We would have to redo the criteria of what it would take to get into the Hall of Fame, but we would like to combine to one Smith Cotton Hall of Fame. It would allow us to have a bigger celebration all together and all at once, one time of year, to recognize all the new members in the new class. And recommendation 3 is to include the alumni of Sedalia High School. That high school was transitioned to Smith Cotton High School, and we feel it's important that there are some alumni that have done some amazing things that need to also be recognized for our students to see them. And I gave you 2 examples there. Walter Dandy is one of the forefathers of neuroscience and neurosurgery, and he's right here from Sedalia High School in Sedalia, Missouri. And Wilson Hicks, who is a leader in photojournalism. He was the managing editor of Life magazine in the 40s and 50s in the heyday, and he is well known in the photojournalist world, and is right here from Sedalia, Missouri. So those would just be 2 examples. Any questions?
I want to add that one of the things that we intend to do with our Hall of Fames, and regardless of how the board votes on this, is to go to more of a video display in the PAC, in the gym, and in the commons to showcase these on a rotating basis, of course, slideshow kind of deal.
It would allow people to read the biographies and not having to go to the website. They would be able to read the biographies and interact with the members.
Okay.
Could you even make it a touch screen?
Yes.
Yes, it can definitely be interactive.
That'd be cool. Any questions or comments? This will be brought back next month for approval or anything? No? Thank you.
I'm just curious.
Yep.
Shame on me that I've not been to one of the academic or other Hall of Fame ceremonies. I've been to the ones that you have in the gym, where I think are the athletic-based ones. Do you anticipate doing these all in one night?
Yes.
Okay.
I think it brings together, it's more difficult to find an appropriate time for the activities and the academics. The athletic gives you that halftime environment with a big crowd, and I think we could recognize all 3 groups, or hopefully one big group together. And it would also give the hospitality we could show in one event as we do for our athletic event. Normally for academics or activities, it's one candidate we are putting in, and it's hard and difficult to show that same level when there's fewer people that come to the event.
No, I get it. Yeah. All right. Thanks for the clarification.
Thank you, Mr. Norton. Next under discussion is curriculum updates. Ms. Brownfield and Ms. Gilmore.
Good evening. In front of you, you guys have our little hub of curriculum updates and units of instruction. So these are just realigned and moved around with our units of instructions to meet our target areas as we continue and grow with our CBE journey. As we're learning more about this process, we will continue to go down this path of realigning our units of instruction, again, to match our targets and areas of growth. As you are aware, curriculum is never done, and it's an ongoing process. So we look to continue to reevaluate curriculum and bring that back to you. So tonight is just for discussion. Ms. Brownfield, do you want to add anything?
Just on the secondary, you've got 2 more social studies electives there. You've seen one the last couple months. And then our integrated algebra 1, as we've been working through that and revising that new curriculum, since that's a newer course, integrating the geometry with the algebra standards. And so we feel like this is kind of a solid piece of direction of where we're headed with our proficiency skills with that course.
Are there any questions at all? We'll see you next month. Thank you. And the last item for discussion is the future facilities projects consideration, and we're exiting.
Yes, we will exit the
The
stage one
stage.
more time.
Okay. Okay. Oh, it's okay. Go ahead. You say it. Pardon. All right, I wanted to, before we get into some of the nuts and bolts, I thought it'd be appropriate to give you a little taste of finance, because all these things with facilities certainly take a lot of money. As far as kind of a financial update, the state of Missouri gave their forecast for fiscal year 27, which is next year, not this school year, but it'd be applied to next year. And that just came out a couple weeks ago during the fair. And they are forecasting a $1 billion shortfall for state revenues in fiscal year 27. This is the cliff that people have been talking about for quite some time, largely due to the tax decreases, the elimination of some of the taxes, the reduction of income tax and et cetera for corporate and private citizens. So it's catching up with state revenues. So that's across the board. It's just not $1 billion from education. I want to keep that clear. That is $1 billion overall. So effectively moving forward into the future, every department would have to, across the state, figure out a way to bear that lack of revenue. There is a governor's commission that you are probably aware of that he has set up to redesign or reinvent the current state funding formula. They are just, in the beginning stages of that process, having public meetings, et cetera. They had one on the 13th of August over at State Fair Community College, have one coming up again in September. Those are public meetings. You can attend in person or virtually if you want to. But those recommendations won't come in until December of 26. So that's quite, that's over a year away. So in the meantime, we don't know what's going to happen with our finance and with our state formula money. As I presented earlier in the tax rate hearing, you saw we saw about 17 to $18 million increase in our assessed valuation this year for reassessment. I will tell you, if you're paying attention to Jeff City, there are yearly all kinds of bills proposed and amendments to bills to reduce property taxes and or eliminate property taxes altogether. There's a significant portion of the state, as far as that goes, that would, with the legislature, would just as soon do away with it entirely, kind of like the state of Florida. But I personally have not heard a strategy to replace those revenues, because it would affect schools most greatly, as well as ambulance districts, fire districts, community colleges, and et cetera. So where are we at? Well, we ended up this past year with 43.5% in reserve balances, which is very healthy. We've been drawing that down a little bit over the last few years since COVID. It was exceptionally high because of all the COVID money that come in. And now we're getting to the point where we've got to even things out.
We have currently about $18 million in our capital projects fund. Those capital projects funds are what we can buy major equipment purchases, and of course facilities upgrades, renovations, construction, etc. To date, we have taken on $35 million worth of new lease fundings. We did a $25 million and then most recently another 15. And we have the capacity, a conservative capacity, to do another 13 million in lease fundings if we choose to do so. According to LJ Hart's, all their analysis of our income is a very conservative number. The whole property tax thing drives our ability to pay these lease fundings. So property tax really comes into play on that. We do not use state formula money to go into that. That is illegal. That has to come from the levy and the tax rate that you just approved. So I'm a little bit concerned moving forward of what the legislature may or may not do with property taxes and how it could be affected. But at the same time, I think I said a couple years ago, we can't continue to go on what ifs and maybes, or we might be sitting still for a long time. All right, so at the end of our current projects, that's what we've been doing all summer: SMS renovations, junior high renovations, central office renovations. When all that is said and done, we will have approximately $3 million left, that's what we're estimating, from the $15 million lease fundings that we took on. So we are forecasting about $3 million left to spend out of that funding. And then in addition to that, of course, we have $18 million in our capital projects fund. We have an average annual revenue that comes into the capital projects fund of approximately $6 million total, give or take, on any given year. That's partly from the 70 cents from the tax rate, it's from like M&M surtaxes, financial institution taxes, classroom trust fund transfers. Those things bolster that. In addition to that, you're able to put your WADA transfer from your weighted average daily attendance, and on average, depending on our state formula payment, it's been running about 2.3 million. So as you can see, we got a little over $8 million in revenue coming in on average to capital projects. So that's kind of what we're working with. Now the 18 million that we have in capital projects, I think we need to spend down some of that, but I don't want to get it too low. There's a point where I would not feel comfortable. I want to keep a fair cushion in that. Certainly not below 5, and maybe in the 5 to 8 range. I would be getting nervous beyond that. We have a lot of schools. We have a lot of moving parts, and one disaster can wipe out millions of dollars. So just a little reminder what we've done. Guided secure entries district-wide. We've replaced the roofs, or in the process thereof, of those buildings. Horseman Junior High, SMS in Washington. Concrete and paving projects across the district. Playground turfs at all our elementaries and the junior high school. We had sports complex that we were able to build, plumbing upgrades at Hunt, Horseman, and Washington, a complete renovation of SMS, the gym annex at the junior high school, and a new central office. So that's what short list of everything we've done so far. We've done a lot. This district has done a lot of improvements district-wide, more so than ever in history. I'm very proud of that. I'm very proud of the Board of Education for supporting that, and I think the community at large should be very proud of the school system that they're in. Now you have before you some potential new projects that we've been discussing. Some of them are a higher priority than others, of course. And kind of like, how far do you go? Something that's some of the stuff that we worry about is, you know, we look at the junior high school, the main old building. How far do you dig into that? It's like remodeling an old house. Once you start something, where do you stop? You get to a point where it becomes so massive and so expensive, you might as well tear it down and build a new one versus fixing it up. Now, don't anybody misquote me out there. I'm not suggesting that we're going to tear down a school. That is definitely not what I'm saying here. But we'll have to decide the renovations we do with inside that building, what does that look like? How much is really necessary? What can we do to do some mild updates, moderate updates versus a complete renovate? Windows, gym flooring, a lot of different flooring replacements district-wide or in-store. I'd like to move from the VCT tile that we currently use, little 1x1 squares, to an LVT tile, which is much more durable. It's a little more expensive on the front side, but you do not have to wax it. You don't have to polish and wax it. So from a labor standpoint, from a workload standpoint, it's on average about a 3 to 4 year payback in labor cost of upkeep of the floor. Additional paving, roof replacement, or improvements to the roofs at Parkview Skyline, and there'll still be one more phase at SMS to get that completely redone. Additional parking out here at McCutton High School and at Sedalia Middle School. A potential for an addition to, if we want to add on to this building to music and band, build onto the auxiliary gym, whether or not we want to build a separate practice facility that could also house music and band to a degree for their class time during the day, but it would not be connected necessarily. There's just a lot of moving parts to these decisions. And of course, expenses, those come into play as well. There's some other potential projects. Finishing the Loftus, there's 4 classrooms that potentially need, we could fill them up according to Mr. Sherman if we finish them out. And that's a possibility as well. HVAC is an ongoing thing. We'll continue to have to work on HVAC. That's just an ongoing process. We need to do a whole system flush in our district from our ground source heating and air. The sediment buildup from the years of the hard materials in the water are starting to coagulate in the system. So we're going to need to go out and find a company to flush all those systems, clean those out. In addition to that, we're probably going to need to add fluid coolers on each of our buildings. A fluid cooler cools the water. So the water that goes out to the wells for the ground source is supposed, the theory is it goes down in the ground, it gets cooled off inside the ground, it comes back up, and then when it comes to the unit in the building, the HVAC system, that it's at a constant lower temperature. So ideally, you'd want that groundwater coming back up at, like, let's say 60 degrees. So 60 degrees is a whole lot easier to cool for air conditioning. And then for heat, you're only having to bring that water temperature up about, 10 or 15 degrees. That's an ideal situation, but what we're finding out in the summertime, in the hot times of the year, our ground is staying so warm that we have 90-degree water and sometimes over 90-degree water coming in and out of our buildings. So you have an HVAC unit that wants to get the temperature down to 72 in the classroom, but it's having to take 90-degree water and lower that temperature down. So the fluid coolers serve to lower that temperature down before it gets to the HVAC unit. Yes, Mr. Gardner. But that as far as cooling the water to the HVAC unit, that it would be a very daunting task to do that to all of our buildings. There's a lot of sidewalks and a lot of concrete, and that would have to come up and be replaced, etc. It would be a daunting task. So what you have in your board packet from Hollis and Miller that Mr. Pyle has prepared for you is an approximately $24,720,000 in projects that if we did everything that they had listed down. Now those are overestimated costs. They always overestimate what they feel we're going to have to pay. And so far, our projects have mostly all come in significantly less than the estimate was originally, which is good. So if we had the $3 million that we will not spend on the lease certificates and the $18 million that I told you that was in reserve balances, that's $21 million. Realistically, I'm saying that $15 million to preserve healthy capital projects balance. If we were to take a combination of those two things, I'd be in that $10 to $15 million range of additional projects to take on. So that $24 million would need to get down to about $15 million unless we were to do another $13 million in lease funding, raise the revenue that way. So that's kind of where we're at financially with that, all that. Have any questions? All right. Well, we can go back to the stage for discussion on the items that are in your packet.
I do want to take a quick minute before we move on with this discussion, just to extend my sincere thanks. These past 3 years, there's been a lot going on, and I just want to give a shout out to Mr. Pyle and to Dr. Fraley, keeping the board informed of every step along the way, whether it was a change order or a delay not caused by us, but not being able to get the material. You all have done an amazing job of communicating with us, keeping us informed. It's just kind of been overwhelming at times. And then Dr. Fraley, thank you for Saturday morning. He offered the board members that could go on a little tour around town, and We visited some of the schools and saw firsthand what had been going on all summer, and it is really amazing, and I'm just proud as a board member to how well we were kept updated and everything in the know. I appreciate that.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
And
You can carry on now.
does some of the things in your board packet, we will need to prioritize, of course, roofs and windows are a high priority. So the things that keep our structures together and intact and safe are most important. It is, the updating of the look, the aesthetic appeal, just like I said, of improving the interior of the junior high school. What does that look like? As you can see that Hollis and Miller in the packet has done some calculations, kind of a couple phase. All in total, you're talking about, they're estimating $12 million to basically do a pretty hard renovation of that building. That would be classrooms, ceilings, flooring, casework, cabinetry, bathrooms, and et cetera. And I don't think we want to tear into it to that degree, but it certainly needs some assistance, especially in the flooring area, in my opinion, and potentially in some of the drop ceilings that we need to replace. So this is just to spawn discussion amongst the board. It may be a situation where we want to do a special work session that concentrates solely on facilities and what and where we're going to prioritize things from here.
Anyone comment? I like the idea of a work session myself, just to only focus on that, just truly do a strategic plan, and it's a lot.
To give it justice, that's what needs to happen.
It's a lot, and yeah, that's what I would suggest. Anybody?
I agree with the work session.
I agree.
Sounds like fun.
Sounds good.
We will get that arranged. We'll arrange that with Hollis and Miller. They can come help facilitate that process
Okay.
For us and the board, and work through some different ideas, and go from there.
Great. Thank you again. Anybody else have any other comments on this agenda item? Lot going on and a lot to come. For information, the APR, Annual Performance Report, Ms. Brownfield and Ms. Gilmore.
We just wanted to go ahead and give you an update on our alternative APR and kind of a general idea of what that's going to look like moving forward. Right now, because of statutory obligations, we will continue, all the districts that are part of SRSN and the Innovation Waiver will continue to get a DESE APR score as we have in the past. However, for us, we will be looking at our data dashboard, which is our alternative APR measures. It will be a website, and we've got some screenshots linked in there for you to kind of see a little bit of that. It's going to touch on a whole bunch of district data, assessment data. It'll look at demographic data. All of that will be posted on our website for the public to see. Right now, there are no specific points tied to that as our traditional system with DESE in the past. That is being worked on in the fall. The SRSN is continuing to work with DESE to figure out, moving forward, all the cohorts with this alternative APR, what that looks like, and aligning that point value, if that's what it looks like as far as points, for future accreditation moving forward. So I think that's going to be ongoing conversations. So right now we are in cohort 2. Cohort 1, their data dashboards were up last year. So we will have ours up at the end of September. for public viewing, and then we will hopefully bring that back to you at that time, so you can kind of walk through the dashboard and see what that looks like, and we can explain the numbers, kind of the differences. You also see where it says Sedalia 200 dashboard, that's a checklist through the SRSN, so it will walk you through all the different data pieces that we are collecting and building with that checklist to then have ready on the public viewing of the dashboard website.
Are there any questions? Okay.
My apologies, but who is Chris Wolf?
Chris Wolf is through Marzano Research. So he is who we partner with the SRSN through their grant funding. That's one of the ways that they've used their grant money. And so Chris then helps take our data and provide us with the embed codes that we are using. So like all the Renaissance star data will come directly into our website, and the filtering is there so that the public can filter through the data. So it's just kind of a partnership with all the cohort districts with Marzano.
What, is he going to be submitting that to DESI or?
No, we already have it. He submitted the embed code directly to us, and so we have that, and we put it directly into our dashboard.
The LEA website, though, is maintained by DESI, or?
Our LEA website is maintained by us.
Okay, all right, good.
Any other questions? Okay, thank you. And Dr. Fraley, enrollment numbers.
Yeah, item for information, and this is preliminary numbers. I think I had Ms. Engel pull these either Thursday or Friday of last week. I'm sure they've already changed quite a bit as we continue to enroll and disenroll students who may have transferred elsewhere when we get record requests. So what you have in front of you, you'll see that we continue to grow a little bit. About 90 or so kids a year the last couple years. That can be fairly significant down the road if that trend continues. You will see that the kindergarten enrollment is 428 students. That's a good many kindergartners. So that is growth. If that continues, then we're going to have more more discussions about buildings and grounds and schools, certainly. So, you know, right now, overall, and these numbers that are in front of you are K-12 only. I did not include pre-K numbers in this. We're at a total of 5,046, and last year at this time it was 4,950. The year before that was 4,831. So you can see a trend there. So we need to keep our eyes open. We're concerned some about class sizes in some of our buildings, and whether or not we need to add additional staff members. I believe, is it Heber Hunt, some of our second grade classrooms, their average is about 20, and that's on the upper edge of what you want. It's certainly doable. We'd like for those to come down a little bit. We have some kindergarten classrooms with over 20, and that's getting up there. So in addition to that, we have a lot of kids that come to us with a lot of special needs and the need for attention and for help and assistance. So we feel that we're becoming to the board for additional paraprofessionals, teachers' aides to help assist with this. At Parkview and Skyline, they have some very intensive special education students that are going to require significant assistance. And the other buildings as well, but I just pull those out. They have two of the very high needs programs in their buildings. So, any questions?
Okay, thank you. And that concludes tonight's agenda. Do I have a motion to adjourn to closed executive session?
Move to adjourn the regular session meeting, and notice is hereby given that the Board of Education of the Sedalia School District Number 200 having duly voted to close its meeting as authorized by Section 610.021 RSMO subsection 1 legal actions, 2 purchase or sale of real estate, 3 hiring, firing, disciplining, or promoting, 13 personnel records, 14 records which are protected, 18 public safety or law enforcement, and 19 security system and structural plans. By law, the Missouri statutes will conduct a closed meeting immediately following adjournment of regular session meeting on August 25th, 2025 at Smith Cotton High School.
Do I have a second?
Second.
And the roll call vote, please.
Dr. Barfagan,
Aye.
Mr. Gardner, Mr. Groupie,
Aye.
Mr. Kempton,
Aye.
Mrs. Moon,
Aye.
Ms. Nichols.
Aye.
Ms. Schrader votes aye.
Thank you, everyone. Have a great week.